Happy Rom-Com Month, everybody. We are doing 28 Days of Love, and today is day 9. I am your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker, and when I speak, my topic is Take the Doughnut. It's another way to say carpe diem. It comes from this weird thing that happened in college. I left an actual donut on a table, but that became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. And from time to time, I'll give myself a challenge. I'll say, I want to do something and I'll make it official. I'll call it a Take the Donut challenge. I'll post some videos about it. But this time, I'm actually opening it up to anybody who wants to join. So anybody who wants to do this, we're doing 28 days of love. And today, again, day 9, we're going to talk about Sleepless in Seattle. I'm going to share 10 things I love about this film, and I am not doing this alone. I am very, very happy to be joined by Anjl Rodee again, who is the founder of BrushCapades. And you may remember her from covering 500 Days of Summer on day 2. She will also cover Benny and June later this month. But today we're going to talk about Sleepless in Seattle. Welcome, Anjl.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
This is so good. After all the great takes you had from 500 Days of Summer, I can't wait to see what we come up with for Sleepless in Seattle today. To reset this for folks, the way this will work is we're going to share a top 10 list of things we love about this film. I'll do the even numbers. Anjl will do the odd numbers. But before we get into it, Anjl, what's your journey with this film?
Well, excuse me. It started as just a lovely movie by an author that I really love. Then I literally journeyed to Seattle. It's where you and I met, actually. Neither of us are based there anymore. But in a way, that movie accompanied me there, right? And was a bit of a source of comfort for me in a new city where I didn't know anybody. So this movie actually means a lot to me in a lot of different ways, not just in a rom-com-y way.
Yeah. Like all the movies that you picked, I think were in some way very appropriate to you. And Seattle was the way that this one felt really appropriate for you. So yeah, we're excited to dive into this. This film, just a little bit about the film first. Sleepless in Seattle came out in 1993, directed by Nora Ephron. It was written by Jeff Arch, Nora Ephron, and David S. Ward. Quite the cast in this one. It stars Tom Hanks as Sam, Meg Ryan as Annie, Ross Malinger, I'm not sure, as Jonah, Rita Wilson as Susie, Victor Garber as Greg, Bill Pullman as Walter, Rosie O'Donnell as Becky, David Hyde Pierce as Dennis. I mean, you just go, I could go on. There's so many amazing actors in this film. And to get into the top 10, I am going to start off. We can do like the smallest details or the
Mm.
biggest things, the big themes. I've got a little bit of a mix on the ones that I want to add to this list. So I'm going to start with a tiny little detail. I pulled out a line that I just love. And it's like, how is this in my top 5, you might be asking? So number 10, Jessica, this is your father. Tell us where he is right this minute. He's if you haven't rewatched this recently, he's not on the phone. He's standing directly in front of her. It's like, first of all, Jessica's a side character. This father is a side character. And I'm putting him on my top 5 favorite things about this movie. Jessica, this is your father. Because he's serious. Because Joan is missing. And they don't know where he is. And they think Jessica knows. And Jessica's father means business. He has to
It's
introduce himself.
it's followed directly thereafter by her saying "NY," and he goes, "She means no way." Oh, so good.
That would be NW, honey. I mean, look, the mileage we just got out of this character, and he was on screen. This man might have spent one day on set, and God bless you. I mean, tell us sure he is right this minute, Jessica. This is your father. Anyway, I just I don't even know if I should go on and explain why I love this so much, but if you've seen this movie recently, you know, if you haven't, it's gold. And I just
So much gold. So
oh
much
my
gold.
goodness. Yeah, it's like it's exposition in the best possible way. You know, like this could have not worked for me at all. It usually like stuff like this, it's like, do how long have we been in this prison? You know, like it just we don't need this stuff and for some reason this just like cracks me up. Anyway,
It's so
um
good. This
I mean,
this leads directly into my number nine, which is the script as a whole. Just Nora Ephron's writing. Not only does she just write characters that I want to be friends with, but she writes people that sounds like people that I actually know that are they're just smart and funny, and everybody has their little quirky things. Like Jessica talks in initials, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like this is what trendy kids do. I don't think so. I think it's just a Jessica thing, and I love that they gave the 10-year-old little girl her own thing, right? And everybody has a thing. For one lady, it's her laugh, and another lady, it's her thing. And when Meg Ryan and Becky, Rosie O'Donnell's character, are talking to each other, and they start talking about commercials that they both love, and their voices start getting really high when they're talking about it, and they finish each other's sentences, or they don't finish the sentence because they both know what they're talking about, and oh my gosh, just so much joy. I feel like I catch something new every time I look at it. So her quirky dialogue is my number nine.
it gives everybody something to latch onto. And the funny thing about Jessica and the initials is like Jessica was way ahead of her time. I don't remember anybody doing this or wanting to do this as a result of this movie, but now
Yes,
like we can nobody speaks in words really. It's
yes.
amazing.
OMG. That
Yeah.
wasn't the thing in
LOL.
1993.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. LMFAO. I don't that totally wasn't appropriate for that situation, but whatever. I just said whatever came to mind. I it yeah, it is wild that like it took us as a culture, I don't know, 15 years to catch up
Yes,
to Jessica, maybe I don't know, ish.
ish.
So yeah, it's but yeah, everybody has their thing. And Nora Ephron gave all this room for it by being
Yeah.
so specific. I'm actually going to we've got a bit of a theme going for the first three because for number 8, I'm going to pull out one more line that isn't we don't even see this person. It's one of the write in like the one of the people who writes into Sam. And the person who says you're the most attractive man I ever laid ears on. I like he must have gotten some great letters,
Yes.
because that's just one of the and of course Jonah's reaction to that because Jonah's reading the letter. He's like the most attractive man I ever laid ears on. He just like gives world's biggest eye roll. But it's like it's so clever. If these are the options that Sam is dealing with, he's got some good, smart women to pick from here, throwing themselves at him. My goodness. But just another example, we don't even see that character.
Yeah,
I
no.
like there's so many lines I could have picked out from the leads of the film, but the fact that just even people you don't see are contributing great dialogue.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes. Yeah, so good. Um, yeah. Another thing that I really love about this film, and it is kind of its own kind of dialogue as well, is the soundtrack, which is not your typical rom-commy, swoony, love songy soundtrack. I don't know that there are any love songs on it really, but some of the music harkens back to very classic love stories, Casablanca, The very first song in the soundtrack or in the movie is As Time Goes By from Casablanca. And then there's quirky things like Back in the Saddle Again, and everything was unexpected yet quirky and just seemed to fit so perfectly. And because it's not stuff that you commonly hear in other rom-coms, I just associate those songs with that movie. I just think they were so well done and so well placed.
And then like even on top of that, you get Meg Ryan singing along horses, 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 like
Horses, horses.
like it's like it's already quirky, and then it gets more quirky. It's wild. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a fun you're right, unexpected soundtrack.
Yeah.
And like for 90s Seattle, even
Yes.
though not all the characters are in Seattle, it's also subverts that.
Yes.
So it's really interesting choices here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, all right. That let's talk about I'm going to bring in some thoughts about some of the main characters here. So,
Okay.
number 6 on this list. Uh Meg Ryan is so charming, and this movie needs that because this could go sideways. Like, so at one point, I did a podcast with a friend of mine, Fish, for the show Felicity. And for those who haven't seen that show, it's about an undergrad in college. It's like a version of NYU. And she, at the very start of the show, she's graduating from high school. She has this huge crush on this guy, and she finds out he's going to this school in New York. And she moves. She enrolls in the school in New York. She moves across the country. She introduces herself to him, and she just sort of doesn't leave. And things like this could be horrific, you know?
Yes.
But the reason that show works, if it works for you, and the reason this movie works, if it works for you, I think, is that these characters that could otherwise be terrifying, like if you put the right music behind it, it's a horror movie. They're charming. They're so
Mhm.
charming that you're okay with the things that are happening. And I think there's just a certain magnetism that's required for the lead actor to have, or the lead
Yes.
actress to have, to pull it off. So I have to say, like, Meg Ryan, I am constantly on her side. Even if it's looking a little weird, she knows it's weird. She's feeling weird about it. She's like, this is too much. Um, but you can, I think, sort of roll with this idea that she's self-conscious about what's happening, even, but she's giving herself over to this idea of destiny,
Hmm.
and and helping it along.
Hmm.
And like you look at her face and you look at her quirkiness, and it fits really well, and it feels right. So number 6, like, well casted for this. I don't know who would have been a better choice at this time for that role.
I agree. I agree. Can you imagine the logistics if, let's say, a tiny amount of Marsha Fieldstone's audience had decided to just go to Seattle and see if they could find him? If just a small, let's say 100 people had gone to Seattle to find Tom, uh, uh, the,
Sam.
Sam, would have been insane. But you're right.
Yeah.
It works because it's very obvious that this is not her wheelhouse and not something that she typically does. And it's fun just to watch her journey as
And
she.
the movie is giving us hints the whole way that this is a good pairing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
Yes,
the things that are
the
lined
apple
up.
coring.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
all of
Mhm.
that. It's like we can get on board because it's like, well, clearly this is destiny.
Yes.
and they just need to get there. And she's resistant, but also going along with it, and that works.
Yes.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
even a fraction of the audience of Dr. Marcia Fieldstone took the initiative that Annie is taking, it would be quite the deluge for
Yes.
Sam.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that her North Star is the movie An Affair to Remember. That's the reason she's like, yeah, obviously this is what I need to do because we need to meet in New York. And
Because that movie worked out so well. Oh my goodness, it's a shocker that one. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, well, so that was number six. What do you
that
have for
was
number five?
number 6. For number 5, this is a weird thing, but a thing that I found interesting because it's not typical for your romance trope either, but it is typical for a Disney trope. The movie begins with a death, and most Disney movies start with the death of a mother or a father, whether it's Cinderella's dad, Snow White's mom, Bambi's mom. And this one starts with a death as well, which I just found it interesting. I don't know if it's one of my favorite things about the movie, but it's something that I paid attention to. Oh, that's how Disney things start, and that is a very, very traditional fairy tale start, right? From Grimm's fairy tales and very, very traditional things. So I found that interesting that it started that way.
I don't know if I ever really thought about that before. So that's not only an interesting observation about Disney movies, but to parallel this to that. Uh, and I bet if you look at the structure of this film now, there's probably
Mm.
one of those Disney movies that this follows very closely. Just
Yes.
the trappings of it are a little different with Seattle, but
Yes.
that's what a cool observation that is.
Yeah.
Now it makes me want to look at this movie in a whole new way.
Yeah. Is Jonah's journey, the hero's journey, his going to New York?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I want to explore that in a minute for sure. Well, okay. All right, so that's number five. We're going to come put a pin in Jonah. We're going to come back to him.
Okay.
But
Okay.
first, I want to look at number four. I want to look at, okay, let's talk about Sam. Let's talk about Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
There's a specific moment that I want to address from Tom Hanks, but I will say when I started this, I haven't watched this in a while. And when I went back, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so young. Um, and he did so many movies during this time. I just
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen most of them in a while. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like going back and seeing younger Tom Hanks and what a career that man has had.
Yeah.
Uh wow, so many amazing films. Um so he always injects personality, so
Yes.
much personality into the role, any role that he's in. So his line delivery, like I'm sure on a page you could get 10 actors to read the lines he's reading and none of them would sound like Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
Um so the thing I want to highlight here, and I think this both captures Sam and also the Sam Jonah relationship, is Sam showing Jonah where Baltimore is on a map. Like, where's Seattle? Where's Baltimore? Ah! Just something about it's just so natural. It's so very like this is how Sam is, but it's Tom Hanks all the way. And he just there is no other actor quite like him. um and it's just it's just beautiful. But also I think it's an example of one of those moments with Sam and Jonah where it's like even when he's losing patience with his son, he hasn't lost his patience.
Yes.
Like there's always still a bit of patience left for
Yes.
Jonah. And Jonah deserves it because Jonah's a good kid and he's just trying to do the right thing, what he thinks is right, even if it is sort of stirring things up. His heart's in a good place. And so I like that. This is like Sam pushing back, but, respectfully, you're
Uh-huh,
wrong. Ah. It's like, well, there's like 26 states in between. So good. The geography lesson we all needed, I'm sure.
I love the other little Sam and Jonah moments, like when they're brushing their teeth and they're skirting the sex language, and Jonah says, "Is she gonna scratch up your back?" Because in movies, women are all scratching at men's backs and stuff. Sam picks out, "How do you know about that?" Jed's got cable. To this day, I use those three words a lot. Why is that a thing? Jed's got cable. Love that
I like that that's
so
made its way
much.
into your everyday language. It's fun when we use references to movies that are definitely not picked up by most of the people around us. Um, yeah, I had a chance to earlier this month we were talking about Say Anything, and I was like, the number of times I've worked, I gave her my heart, she gave me a pen into a conversation, but it doesn't belong in. So I love that Jed's Got Cable is like your go-to move. It's so good.
Yeah, to this day. I also thought that'd be a great name for a punk band as well, but never started that punk band. But Jed's got cable.
It would be.
It's just got a lot of legs, really, man. It's such a great punch.
Yeah. Somebody get on this. We need this to
Somebody,
happen.
please name your band Jed's got cable.
It's time. Well, okay, so that was number four. I think you've got number three.
Number three, to me, one of the big stars of the movie is Seattle. It's interesting to me that 32 years later, everything is still kind of the houseboat and the seat in the Athenian in the fisherman's in the fish market and the fish market itself and all these things. It's hard not to relate these things back to this movie, which is funny because a lot of movies have been shot in and around Seattle. But it's definitely one of the highlights for me is just looking at all the places and going, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I actually never, as long as I lived there, I never actually went to see where the houseboat would have been, but I can imagine
Mm-hmm,
where it might have been based
mm-hmm,
on what I do know.
mm-hmm,
What the location that struck me the most was the when they're walking when Sam is walking with his coworker through the past the inn at the market
mm-hmm.
towards Pike Place Market,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's never been such an empty street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow. They were definitely filming here because I like, normally there are more pedestrians or buskers or, like
Mm-hmm.
something happening
Cars
over
all over.
there. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like a lot of these locations that you're like, oh, I know that place.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes movies that are set in Seattle have like an establishing shot
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of are clearly shot somewhere else after that, or it's like
Right.
generic apartment buildings or something like
Right.
that, or
Vancouver.
they'll get like Kerry Park or something, and then
Exactly.
like a shot of the Space Needle in the distance or something, and then they'll be somewhere else. But this, like, to be walking past the inn at the market towards Pike Place, and
Yeah.
then like the houseboat and the vibe of the lake, like it just
Yeah.
has a real sense of place to it.
Yeah. 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 It really does. Yeah. I
Mm.
love that.
Okay, so this is going to bring me to number two, and then we're going to take that pin back out because I want to talk about Jonah.
Mm.
He's so brave.
Yes.
I like, honestly, he's the star. Maybe I don't know if I feel this way because okay, 93, so I would have been 10 when this came out. Um, and I'm sure I didn't see it like in a theater, but I would have been young.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have certainly been closest to Jonah's age of
Mm-hmm.
anybody else in this film.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'm looking at this with Jonah colored glasses. Um, like, because he was like my peer in terms of age when I watched this the first
Mm-hmm.
time. I might be biased, but Jonah is like the star of this movie for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens if not for Jonah.
I was just going to
None
say
of
that he's the
this.
impetus
Yeah.
between the phone call for Dr. Marcia, the flight to New York. You are right. He is the brave driving force of everything major that happens in this movie. I think even the reason they moved to Seattle, they start in Chicago, and
Hmm.
needs Sam needs to get in a better mindset for his kid. So that is the reason that they even go to Seattle. So yeah, he's definitely the driving force behind every major thing in that movie. Yeah.
And some of these things, it's one thing to call Dr. Marcia Fieldstone. It's another thing to give a radio station your home address. It's an entirely different thing to book a flight to New York, find your way to the airport, get on a plane, get all the way to New York, get all your stuff, find your way to the Empire State Building,
As a 10-year-old.
and clearly he's not an introvert. Approach
Yeah.
every single person, every human who's a woman at the top of the Empire State Building to check if they're Annie. I mean, this kid had
This kid had skills.
skills that a lot of adults don't know that they have, frankly.
Yes.
Like, and he had the support of Jessica, his friend,
Hmm.
to a degree, but at a certain point, he had to fly the nest.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
once you were on your way to the airport, Jessica's not there anymore to help you
Right.
figure out how to book the thing. So I just, and you can see at the end of the film when Sam finds him, and they reunite, you can see that it's now wearing on Jonah. Like,
Yes.
this building's about to close and he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And you can see the fear setting in, but my goodness,
Yes.
sometimes it's a matter of starting to do the hard thing before you know you're capable of doing it, and then
Yes.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
And this kid was doing it at such a young age, and set his dad's life on a much more positive trajectory.
Yeah.
um Basically is the hero to two adults in this film. I
Yeah.
mean, it's cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Jonah.
Jonah.
Yep, there it is. Well, okay. What's number
Okay.
one? What's the favorite thing on
For
this
me,
list? Mm-hmm.
my number one, talk about turning a rom-com trope on its head. The meet cute, which usually starts off the thing, ends the movie. The last scene in the movie is the meet cute. Everything leads up to that. Normally in these kind of movies, you get a little background information about the he and the she, and then they meet, and then stuff happens. Nope. Stuff is happening all the way up to the meet cute. I just love that. I don't know of another movie that is like that. There's so many things that are just so interesting and so different about this movie, which is just one of the reasons it stuck with me. But I just kind of love that like now their story begins. And oh, we're done? Oh no, the movie's over. Now it begins. Yeah. Yeah. I just
Yeah,
love
there's a
that.
very happily ever after feeling to it. I guess, it's a challenge when you're writing a script like this
Mm,
to make that make sense for an audience,
mhm,
to have them feel invested. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was so important to have all these moments in the middle where it's like,
mm.
oh, Jonah's doing this and so is Annie, or Sam's talking about this and now Annie's doing it. And so you get all of these moments where it's
Yes.
like, oh, like we can see that they just need to get together.
Yes.
So we're waiting for it the whole time, and there
Yes.
is the payoff, but you have to be
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot of, it's not going to happen. Oh, she's not going to go up there. Oh, they already closed. Nobody's getting up there. So there's a lot of uncertainty before it happens. Just so fun. So yummy.
I think that's also another one of the reasons why Meg Ryan makes such important choices. Like, she's such a good choice for this film, and she makes good choices. When they have that meet cute all the way at the end of the film, they have no idea.
Yeah.
We know that they're is a lot of similarity and that it probably could work and
Hmm.
that there's a sensibility there that's very
Hmm.
much a good match. But they have no idea.
No
So,
idea.
like, after all this, the audience is satisfied, but Meg Ryan, Annie, is like, like she's like giving it like is this is this like am I okay, like
Yeah.
the whole way to the elevator,
Yeah.
giving him these looks like am I happy with this choice? Is like I think this is good, like, but are you an axe murderer? Like I can't tell. It's
That's an interesting take on it because that's not what I thought she was thinking. I
ooh.
thought that they were like, are we really here? Is this really happening? Not in a, am I doing the right thing way, but in a, did this really just work out? Did this really, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, that I feel like her moments of, is this a good thing? Happened at dinner with the fiance. I'm not remembering his name right now. Bill
Yeah,
Pullman.
Walter.
Walter. Walter. Walter.
Well, Walter, Walter just what can we say about Walter? Because, well, thank goodness Walter doesn't have the fighting spirit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's just like, it's not it. This isn't it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
he's just like so nice. It's like, who are
Yes.
you, man?
Right?
Um, like you have no feelings about this? Okay. Um, there's like one moment he like kind of rolls with the passive aggressive comment from her. And he's like, yeah, I'm great, but
Yeah.
like,
That
for
aside.
the most part, he's just like, I'm a perfectly fine option and it's not the option for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to be somebody's second best.
Yeah. Oh
If
my
only
goodness.
all breakups were that easy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I also think it's like on the one hand, it's like, well, thank goodness he got himself out of the way so smoothly.
Cleanly.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, it's like, well, that's clearly why this shouldn't have been a thing,
Yeah.
like
Yes, exactly.
if it means that
Exactly.
little,
Yeah.
um, not that I'm saying he needs to be in the restaurant throwing his,
Right.
water at her and all that, but like, uh, if it's so easy to let this go,
Yes.
what was it? Um,
Yes.
so like just of the many things, um, it's he clearly wasn't the one, but
Yeah.
yeah, that like all these moments we get where it's clear that Annie and Sam are a good fit if they could
Hmm.
just get together, and then we take an entire movie to get there. It
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
different structure.
Yeah, yeah, just so good. So the to me the humor was just spot on. There was a little bit of goofiness, but not an over amount of goofiness, and there was smart and funny, but not too much smart and funny, where you're just in your head the whole time. Just such a great, delicious recipe of all the good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that's our top 10 list. We did it.
Yeah, we
Those
did
are our
it.
favorite things about Sleepless in Seattle. The question, everybody, is what is your favorite stuff about this movie? What would be on your top 10 list or, anything? It could be a whole top 10 list, it could be one thing. But what are your favorite things about Sleepless in Seattle? Um, so before, feel free to write that in the comments. We'll be looking for
Mm.
that. But before we close this out, Angel, I wanted to give you a chance. Is there anything that you wanted to plug anywhere that people can find you if they want to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, yeah. Go to brushcapades.com. I do classes on Tuesday nights where you can come and learn how to do mindful things like doodling or drawing caricatures or painting with acrylics and watercolor. I've got a whole schedule up there. Come and do some arty things with me because we are all artists and we should be arting.
So true. Angel's Angel's talent is beyond measure as far as I can tell. I have commissioned Angel to do many things and they're all great. And the thing is she can teach it too. So it's which is those skills don't always come in the same human. So it's amazing to see what you can do. But yes, everybody be sure to check those things out. So, and also again, if you want more of Angel, You can have it in 500 Days of Summer.
Yes.
You'll have it in Benny and June. Check out those film discussions in Rom-Com Month. And let me tell you what's coming up next. So tomorrow we've got day 10. We're going to talk about Catch and Release. This one's from 2006. This is Jennifer Garner, Timothy Oliphant, Kevin Smith, Sam Yeager, Juliette Lewis, Fiona Shaw. And then so that film, some of that film was shot in Boulder, Colorado. And so my guest joining me to talk about that film is going to be Tom Parkin of Tom Parkin Films. I'm connected to him through the Boulder County Film Commission. And so that'll be really interesting to get those perspectives on that film. It is one of the films on the list that it's romantic and it's comedic, but it's also got drama, and it's a look at, and maybe it's appropriate coming on the back of this. It starts with a death, so
Mm,
it's
mm,
a
yeah.
movie about, a rom-com through grief, if you
Mm,
will.
yeah.
So it's a really interesting one for those who haven't seen it, because I'm not sure it's one of the best known ones on here, but it's one of my favorites. So
Looking
I hope
forward.
people will check it out. But yeah, that's what's coming up tomorrow. And I hope you'll all join me for that. And in the meantime, happy rom com month, everybody. Get love, get donuts.
Bye.